Hi guys, Scotty here with another DBZ Dokkan Battle video, and welcome back to Team of the Week. Today I've got an awesome, spicy movie bosses team for you guys. It's got a lot of Broly in it, got some easy A's in it. Very excited, been having a lot of fun playing with this team and just crushing through content with it. A very safe team, very defensively powerful team, and yeah, just all around great. So without any further ado, let's jump right into it. So here's a team. I would say this is easily a top 5 team, maybe on the lower end of that 5, so maybe number 5. With some of the easy A's, it has brought this team up a bit. Usually before the movie bosses team was kind of a lot more Broly, but yeah, we've had to kind of phase out a couple of those with how content has progressed. We got a very nice easy A to Ella Janemba here as well, who just made him fit so well on the movie bosses team. So a little bit less Broly all around, but that's not a terrible thing. We still got a lot of Broly here if we go into it. So backbone of this team, guy who's holding up everything here, is our main LR Tech Broly. He's our flat movie bosses category, key +3 and HP attack and defense +200%. That's our leader skill. Just makes it very easy to slap team and slap different units on there. You could also run this under just the int legendary Super Saiyan Broly. He does have a very similar leader skill. A lot of these units are going to fall under one of these categories as well: uncontrollable power, revenge, or planetary destruction. But it's a little bit more legwork to actually go and figure out and make sure they're all on the 200%, because you really do want that 200%. With the introduction of the 220% leads, a lot of the content is getting built around that, so we want to have them on as high of a lead as possible. So just to go over each one of them quickly, I won't read every single one's passive, take up everyone's time. Let's just jump through a few key things with them. So Allotech Broly here, if we go in, he is going to start off his turn not being able to attack, and you want to slap him in slot 1. He's going to have 90% damage reduction. He's going to just free turn with him as a slot 1. Unless you are very certain that you have another unit that will survive, you could then put him in slot 2. He gets 70% damage reduction, and he gets a nice chance. He gets a nice extra critical boost for his team, which is always nice. But yeah, you're probably going to just put him into slot 1 for his first turn. Not really a reason to transform him on his first turn unless you really need to do a lot of damage right at the beginning. So maybe in like the Festival of Battles or something like that, then yeah, you might want to just transform him right off the bat. Although I wouldn't recommend taking this team into that. Anyway, once he's transformed, he's going to be a fantastic slot 1 still for a long time. So he's got 50% base damage reduction, then 3 turns he's going to have an extra 26% damage reduction, as well as he's going to be guarding all attacks and getting 200% defense before attacking as the first attack in a turn. So very, very solid slot 1. Not a lot else here to say. He does interrupt on his 24 key, which is great, and if there's a Pure Saiyans or Earthbred fight as category enemy, he's going to have more key and a chance of performing a critical hit plus 50%. So yeah, very, very solid slot 1 unit. Moving on to our LR Int Broly, he is going to be the preferred linking partner for the Tech Broly. They link 6 links, I think it is, 5 links before he transforms, and then all 7 links once Tech Broly is transformed. So the most fantastic linking partner you could have for Tech Broly. These two are absolute menace as a duo on one turn. Very, very cool to see the amount of damage they pump out, and the domain that Int Broly has is just going to be buffing everyone on the team. So any uncontrollable power category and enemies and allies plus 15%, and then superclass enemies will be taking an additional 15% there, plus an additional 10% for characters who also belong to the movie heroes category. So yeah, no one on this team, but then it'll be, if you have a movie heroes boss, they'll be taking more damage. So Int Broly, very good second slot here. He can first slot. He can. If you look, he's got his damage reduction rate of 60% as a basic effect, so that's really good. And when he has the domain up, he's also got guard as well, and he does some orb changing and a bunch of other things. But yeah, he can slot 1 if he is for most of the content, and if he has his active skill up. Once that active skill does wear off though, it's a little bit safer to be using Tech Broly because of that guard as well as the damage, as well as this DR. So you're not just relying purely on damage reduction within Broly. but you're going to be having him in second slot alongside your first slot Tech Broly anyway, so it's not a problem. We've also had Janemba recently get an EZA, so that has been really fantastic for him. He's just a fantastic all-round unit. He's got damage reduction. He slowly builds up and just starts hitting for like 15, 16, 17 million and higher. Does a ton of damage. And you're going to be not floating off, sorry, you'll see in the next rotations. So he'll be a second attacker, so he's going to have a 44% damage reduction, and he's going to be raising his defense constantly as well for the one turn. He does a lot of attacks in a single turn, so great unit there as well. And then lastly, we've got your 3 floaters, and I think that should take us nicely into the next portion. Let's jump into the actual rotations, and I'll finish going over the characters. But you do also want to take a second Tech Broly, just by the way, as your friend lead. He's going to be your friend lead. You're going to have him on both rotations, sorting out your slot 1 needs for all rotations there forward. So yeah, let's jump into the rotations quickly. So for your rotations, what you're going to want to do, like I said, you're going to want to have your Tech Broly set up as your main slot 1 unit for both rotations. Even when he transforms, you still want to keep that. So keep him for 1 turn in his base form on each, and then transform him once he's had that 1 turn and he doesn't have that DI anymore. You want to transform him so that he can start doing some damage and actually being useful there. LR Int Broly is going to be on your first rotation there with Tech Broly as well. He's going to be a 7 linking partner, like I said, so just an amazing rotation. Not much to really worry about there. Pop his active whenever you want to. It's going to massively boost the team. Maybe you could hold off if you know that there's a particularly difficult boss and he's maybe in the second or third phase, and you know that 60% damage reduction basic should get you through the first stage or 2. You can hold off on doing his domain here. Sorry, let me make sure I have him actually pulled up here while we're talking about this. You can hold off on doing his domain, because that domain is just going to give him guard, which is so valuable with damage reduction and his defense as well as his key changing and being effective against all types. So just remember, it does massively boost him and the team, so you could leave that for later if you wanted to. Second rotation is going to be again LR Tech Broly, and then we've got LR Janemba there, who's going to fit very nicely. He's not going to take damage in that second slot. He's going to have the 44% damage reduction. He's going to be building up, not that he's stacking, but he's going to be doing multiple supers, and in that turn building his defense up very quickly. And he's got a nice little rage feature as well. I don't know if I mentioned that. So you can, if you do start taking, not that you need to take damage, it's above 66%, but starting from the 6th turn you can actually activate that, and that's nice. He doesn't take damage in this form, and it looks flippin' cool. It's very cool supers and all of that. So for your floaters here, firstly we've got LR Cell Max. So not the newest unit, and he is starting to fall off a little bit, but he can still hold his own in these events. I would say he's quite powerful, especially with his 3-turn guard. With his intro up, he's going to have damage reduction, as well as he's going to be boosting his defense on his super, as well as when he takes attacks. So you really do. You want to try get him those. You want to try get him those attacks received a little bit early on, maybe when the fight's not so difficult, to get him that 100% defense boost. But yeah, once his intro wears out, he could be a little bit of a problem. So it might be worth keeping his intro and then making sure to save his active, his taunt for when that runs out, and then you can get extra turn with him of massively boosted defense, as well as being able to taunt for the whole team, and then he's invincible. He's pretty good. But like I said, he's going to have that damage reduction rate of 30%. He's going to have a extra chance of performing a critical hit of 30%, because again, we don't have any superheroes category allies attacking in this team. So yeah, he should be fine. He's probably our weakest character on here defensively. Which says a lot. I mean, he came out as he was very defensive hero. That was very defensive unit. That was his whole thing. But you could replace him with, say, like an LR AGL Freezer if you wanted to, keep with the extreme theme as well, or the LR Turles. Then next we have the 9th anniversary Super Saiyan Broly, so he's still fantastic as well. Another domain that can be used here. So this is where you might start getting in your own way with if LR Int Broly, and if you pop LR Int Broly's active later on in the fight, obviously you're not going to be able to transform Super Saiyan Broly into his legendary Super Saiyan form, or into his full power form, if you pop that active and the domain is still going, because you can't have 2 domains up. So that is one thing just to be careful of, is make sure that you do want to transform this guy as soon as possible, because he just starts going off on this team once he's transformed. So it might actually be a good idea to just pop the active of LR Int, and then once that wears off, you should be sort of at the point turn 4 or 5 where you can actually do Super Saiyan Broly's AGL Super Saiyan Broly's transformation and get him there as well. And then lastly, we have Tech Beerus here. Just an all-round solid, super easy A. He comes with, as long as you're above 60% health, he's going to have 60% damage reduction in that 3rd slot, which is fantastic. He's going to be guarding as well, so really he's a very valuable unit. He could even slot 1 or 2 with these, but on this team, he's going to be a very valuable float for us, but he doesn't have to. He could actually replace LR Janemba if he wanted to. And that is our team. Those are first rotation, second rotation, and our floaters. I've given you some substitutions you can use down there as well. We've got the STR Broly, we've got LR Broly, Chila, and Lemo as well. Very solid unit. You give them enough orbs, they can dodge everything, boost the team, all of that. As well as, I'll just go through and name them in case you want to find them and you don't know. So we've got LR STR Turles here as well. Very solid unit to replace to float as well. We've got AGL Frieza here. I'm just going to bring these up on the screen as well as we talk about them. LR Frieza, great, got a lot of damage reduction to start in his turn. That does fall off, but yeah, you can see the thing fighting me here. LR Golden Frieza, fantastic unit. And then you've got 2 more Broly units you could use here. We could go with the Int Super Saiyan Broly here. Legendary Super Saiyan Broly as well, solid unit. He just needs to defensively stack a little bit to get going. And then lastly, you've got your LR Tech, your original EZA here. Super Saiyan Broly transforms into Legendary Super Saiyan Broly. He is possibly going to be your weakest choice here. I absolutely love him, but you will need to babysit him when he comes around that first time. It's very scary, but once he does transform, he's going to have guard at least, and he should be raising it's only his attack that he raises. So yeah, he's going to be a bit scary to run on this team. He could easily, I've seen him tank supers and that just fine, but he can take damage and he can just die. But he's a float, so he's a sub, so you could sub him in if you don't have anyone, or you could sub on all Brolys and just run a full Broly movie bosses team. That is so much fun as well. They link together so well, and you just get Broly after Broly after Broly. So yeah, that is the team, and after all that yappery, let's jump right into a difficult event I did with the team, so you can see how they perform, how I set up my rotations as well, and we'll just go from there. Yeah, so let's do it. Okay, so what I did here was I got to the final boss fight of the Battle Hardened Formidable Foes fight. They are very long fights, so I thought I would spare you going through every single stage. You can kind of get the idea. This is the hardest fight in the stage, so I thought this would give a good idea of how this team performs. I do use a couple items here or there just because we don't manage to get LR and Broly's domain up immediately. Now, there was one thing I did forget to mention in the beginning part of the video, is if you want to make sure that there's no chance and it's just going to be very consistent, you want LR and Broly's domain up as soon as you can. Make sure that you have all uncontrollable power team members on the same in the team. So obviously Beerus is not uncontrollable power, so he doesn't give Broly that chance to pop off with his active. You need to have the other two units attacking in the same turn be of the uncontrollable power category. Otherwise he's not going to be able to do that active. So yeah, you could do that. I didn't do that specifically because I didn't want to run I didn't think that the team would be as good swapping out Beerus for another Broly or something like that. So yeah, anyway, it's not the end of the world. I did have to pop an item just to make sure that we got through to the next turn, and then he was able to pop his active in his domain, and we were absolutely fine. Managed to get the W here. So yeah, battle the BHFF, the Battle Hardened Formidable Foes fights. They are fantastic for teams like this, really. This type of content for teams that have a early power spike and don't like infinitely stack. So for teams that have intros, for teams that have domains that only last a couple of turns and then they taper off afterwards, this type of content is fantastic because it's like harkens back to the older SPR style content. So There's 4 fights. Obviously, you guys have done this event, you know. There's 4 fights in there, and every time you get through a fight, it resets your whole team, and you can just go into the next fight as if it's a first turn. So, really good for teams like this where you don't need to sit for 20 turns or 10, 15 turns, or whatever it may be, in a red zone where once you get past like turn 8, 9, your team is starting to taper off because they're not infinite stackers or something like that, or they weren't able to burn down the boss instantly. So yeah, that's why I chose this content. This team is perfectly suited to it, and yeah, they tear through this quite well. Now, I know some people don't like recommending teams or that have to use items. I wouldn't say this team has to use items. I think I could get through it quite easily. I just had a string of unlucky runs where I was getting caught out right at the end here, where either STO sell max or in Broly without his domain was getting caught out by a massive super, and that was the only reason I was dying. So you could do it without an item perfectly if you get the right conditions, but using an item here or there, I mean, the event gives you 4 item slots for a reason. It's difficult content, but otherwise the rest of the team manages just fine without issue there. Now, unfortunately, Cell Max is kind of starting to show his age a little bit, even though he's not that old. But once his intro's down, and he loses that guard, and he's just got the damage reduction to rely on, and hopefully a high defense stat by that point. He can catch you out very easily, so just be careful of that. With his taunt, he should be absolutely fine, though. He boosts up to mine is just a single copy, and he's like 5. I've seen him at 5 mil defense, 8 mil defense is the highest I've seen him go for his taunt, so he should still be fine with his taunt, especially if his intro's up. But otherwise, yeah, once his 3-turn intro's over, he can cause you to lose a run or two, especially with very high damage content like this. So that's why you do see me popping some items here. I just wanted to get through and show this team without dying randomly to him. so yeah, this is why I had to do that. So we activate Tech Broly's active skill here. That's just going to give him flat attack bonus, an extra key, and all of that. So there's no reason not to pop that. Just always pop it. It gives you quite a big attack boost. As you can see there, we have 30 mil attack now. He's going to go and just destroy the enemy there. Get that nice crit as well as disabling the enemy's next turn. Well, not next turn, but one of his actions. The next action in the team, yeah, in the turn. And Broly also putting up nice numbers there, 18 million. Man, it's a pity he doesn't just have permanent inbuilt guard, but what are you going to do? If you run 2 of the int Brolys, which you can do, it does make it a little bit more of a pain to try and make sure that everyone fits under the 10% lead, but it is definitely doable. If you run 2 of them, then that's even better, because you could have them both on rotation, and then you get 6 turns of his active, so that's great as well. But then that really interferes with the AGL Broly's ability to transform. But to be honest, we didn't really get to transform with AGL Broly. I was more concerned with LR and Broly making sure that he had his domain up so that he'd have that extra guard and actually be okay in here. And can I just say that LR Janemba in this fight at no point gave me a single worry. He was just sitting in that second slot. He was having the greatest time with that 44% damage reduction, his guard, and then just raising his defense constantly. I mean, he was sitting at over 1 million defense all the time and just pumping out damage like this, supering constantly, and yeah, been such a great easy A. He's such a fantastic unit to slap on there as a second, or you can float him, but he sits really well on the second slot. And that'll take us into the next turn here for the most high damage and scary turn yet. So we do still have 1 turn left of in Broly's domain, so we are still getting boosted, and Broly still has that guard. So but yeah, we're getting, I mean, still, even with that, this is a very high damage turn. I think I do pop an item here to make sure that we just going to get through to the end of it. Even, especially for Tech Broly now, I mean, he does have that 70%, 76% damage reduction in guard. but he does start taking damage actually because of the type advantage of the boss here. So a bit of a scary turn for him. So I was like, Icarus, why not? Why not just pop that? We've got it. We've made it through the other stages without using, so why not here make sure we get to the end of it.
Time to get serious.
Damn, and then failed that middle one. So disappointing. But you can sort of get the idea. You can see what we're going to do, see what this team does. I'm going to leave you guys with the rest of this event to watch. You can either skip ahead or you can watch the rest of it, but I don't really have anything else to add here. So you'll just see the end of the fight, and I'll be back in a sec. So thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, really enjoyed making this one. Love the movie bosses team, and I was able to show it off and share it with everyone. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll hopefully check you in the next one.